Question 71. Does Buddhism offer any solutions to the issue of global poverty?
According to the law of karma, poverty can stem from various causes. It might be because, in a past life, one was stingy and unwilling to help those in need. Or it could be the result of wasting resources, such as money, food, or clothing. It may also stem from having destroyed the shelters of animals, or having spoken contemptuously of the poor. It could also be due to having destroyed the infrastructures of villages during wars. Overall, it is difficult to pinpoint the exact cause of one's poverty. Only enlightened beings can see past lives to understand these causes. When people are impoverished, the desperation of poverty can easily drive them to commit wrongdoings just to survive, thus compounding their negative karma, which is a truly pitiable situation. Even if someone with a kind heart offers them food, clothing, or other necessities, their underlying karma of poverty remains. This relief is just temporary, and the suffering soon returns. The only way to truly escape poverty is to make a strong effort to do good deeds and help others even while in a state of poverty. We cannot wait until we are well off to start doing good deeds. There's a short video that illustrates this idea. A homeless man buys 2 boxes of food and sits down to eat by the roadside. Another man approaches and asks for one of the boxes. The homeless man, thinking the other might be as hungry as he is, gives away his second box, accepting that he won't have enough to eat that day. Little does he know that the second man is actually wealthy and decides to try testing people's kindness on that day. After sharing the meal with the homeless man, the wealthy man leaves an envelope for the homeless man and walks away. The homeless man initially is confused and assumes that the man who shared his meal is just another person in need. But when the homeless man opens the envelope, he's stunned to find a large sum of money, and he bursts into tears because it's been a long time since he's had such an amount. We can infer that the homeless man's act of kindness, sharing his food even in hardship, reflects a generous heart. He had likely been kind many times in his life, which led to this chance encounter with someone who tested his kindness and rewarded him. The poverty he currently faces may have been caused by different karma. Organizations that aim to help people overcome poverty should emphasize the importance of kindness, especially being kind even in difficult circumstances. Then, they should help find meaningful work for the poor, which will gradually lead them to better fortune. If they receive help in this way, their lives will be changed sustainably. Those who can remain kind even while still in poverty will likely see their circumstances improving more quickly. We should also caution everyone, especially those in the food industry, that wastefully discarding leftover food is one of the causes of poverty. In Vietnamese culture, there is a deep respect for food, even a single grain of rice, which is almost seen as a religious practice.
Question 72. According to the law of karma, what causes war?
When a king of one country raises an army to attack another, several factors must come together. For some unknown reason, the king feels a strong urge to launch an attack and conquer the neighboring country, possibly to seize more territory. This desire is very powerful. The king has an army willing to follow his orders, even if it means risking their lives in battle. The king's ministers and advisors are in agreement, and no one dares to oppose his decision. What invisible force brings these supporting conditions together? The king's desire, the obedient army, abundant resources, and the agreement of his ministers? That force is karma. It has come to a time when the people of the country must endure the suffering of war, and thus all the conditions for war align perfectly. What kind of past karma leads to the outbreak of war? It is often the karma of killing. Living beings seek to sustain themselves by taking the lives of others, whether through hunting animals or consuming plants. Over a lifetime, people accumulate significant karma from killing. When this karma ripens in a future life, war breaks out in a seemingly irrational and inexplicable way. If we wish to have a peaceful war, everyone must find ways to minimize the karma of killing. We should avoid excessively killing, even for food. Fortunately, scientists have successfully developed lab-grown meat, where cells are cultivated in laboratories to grow into edible, clean meat without the need for slaughter. In the future, humans, and perhaps even animals, will be able to consume meat without any killing involved, which marks the beginning of a truly peaceful world.
Question 73. In recent years, global warming has become a significant threat to life on Earth. How does Buddhism view this issue?
Scientists have long warned that the use of fossil fuels, such as oil and coal, releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This carbon dioxide traps the sun's heat, causing the temperature of the atmosphere on Earth to rise continuously. Today, everyone can clearly feel this intense heat everywhere. Even traditionally cold regions are starting to warm up, and many people have died from severe heat waves. Why do humans rely so heavily on fossil fuels like oil and coal? It's because humans, with their intelligence, have created machines to perform work on their behalf, and now AI can even think for them. These machines require fuel to operate. The current technology predominantly uses oil or coal to power machines, vehicles on land, airplanes in the sky, ships on the water, and thermal power plants. The combustion of these fossil fuels primarily produces carbon dioxide, which accumulates in the atmosphere. becoming increasingly dense and trapping more heat, though it is invisible to the naked eye. This is the consequence of using the Earth's resources for human activities. Unfortunately, these activities involve unwholesome, frivolous, meaningless, self-indulgent, and selfish pursuits that far outweigh those that are beneficial and lead to enlightenment.
When this imbalance occurs, humans immediately face the consequences of rising planetary temperatures. One might ask, how can machines or the atmosphere distinguish between wholesome and unwholesome actions, or between actions that lead to enlightenment and those that lead to delusion? The answer is, the sun knows. If humans use machines for virtuous activities that lead to enlightenment, the sun will naturally adjust its intensity, burning less fiercely to keep the earth from overheating. However, if humans continue to misuse machines for meaningless, selfish, or even harmful activities, the sun will respond by burning even more intensely, further contributing to global warming. Therefore, the Earth's resources should only be used for virtuous purposes and to support the path to enlightenment.
Question 74. Most religions focus on the afterlife. Followers hope to ascend to higher realms and dwell with deities after death. What is Buddhism's view on this?
The Buddha taught about 6 realms of existence into which all beings can be reborn. So, understanding these realms is essential for guiding one's spiritual practice appropriately. However, according to the Buddha's teachings, the existence of beings in none of these realms is permanent. Depending on the amount of merit or demerit accumulated, beings will reside in these realms for varying lengths of time. If one wishes to be reborn in a higher, more blissful, and holy realm, 3 core practices must be cultivated. Accumulating a significant amount of good karma, because just a little merit is not sufficient to elevate one from a lower realm to a higher one. Perfecting moral conduct to be virtuous, profound, and perfect, as superficial efforts cannot lead to significant progress. Achieving a deep and tranquil state of concentration and meditation, reaching specific and notable results. Some religions absolutely believe in the power of prayers, trusting that constant supplication to divine beings will help one be taken to a higher realm after death. However, the Buddha once stated that prayers are not as powerful as the practice of morality and meditation. If one has already fulfilled the 3 core practices mentioned above, then prayers might act as the straw that broke the camel's back, ensuring rebirth in a heaven realm. Therefore, the efforts we make in this current life are what truly matter. We must focus on each moment in the present, dedicating ourselves to service, moral cultivation, and meditation practice, and let the law of cause and effect work justly. If we are overly concerned with the afterlife and neglect our responsibilities in the present, then religion may inadvertently become irrelevant to society, which is not beneficial.
Question 75. If we believe that wealth and power come from having done many good deeds in past lives, which implies having a good heart, then why are so many wealthy and powerful people also ruthless and cruel?
Great merit comes from doing things that benefit many people. One might perform such good deeds because of their genuine virtues, but sometimes these deeds are done unintentionally, without a strong moral basis. For example, imagine you are an officer required to follow orders from a superior to build a bridge over a river, construct a road to a remote village, or establish a hospital in a densely populated area. These actions all generate significant blessings for the future. However, the mindset while carrying out these public works can vary greatly. You might carry out these projects with a sincere desire to help others, or you might do them hoping to please your superiors and receive rewards. These two attitudes are vastly different. If you do these things with a genuine love for others, in the next life, you will not only enjoy wealth and power, but also possess strong moral qualities. Conversely, if the motivation is simply to please the superiors or gain rewards, in your next life, you may still enjoy wealth and prosperity, but your morality may not be as developed. Doing good deeds and cultivating moral virtues are distinct activities, even though they are interconnected.
Question 76. The world today is more stressful than in the past due to technology driving people to work at a fast pace. People are constantly seeking ways to relax and reduce their anxiety. What is Buddhism's perspective on human stress in this modern era?
We experience stress for two main reasons. First, due to our desires, and second, because our merit is insufficient to meet the demands of life. Stress and anxiety caused by desire are fundamental aspects of psychology. One of the purposes of Buddhist practice is to address this. By eliminating personal desires, we can reduce stress and worry. Meditation plays a key role in this aspect. Stress and anxiety caused by a lack of merit in relation to life's demands are linked to karmic retribution. Everyone is burdened by life's necessities, such as food, clothing, shelter, possessions, reputation, and relationships. However, if one has insufficient merit to fulfill these needs, one's mind will naturally fall into stress and worry. To avoid this, it is important to diligently engage in good deeds, help others, and contribute to society rather than seeking personal pleasure and comfort, which may trap us in psychological stress and anxiety later on.
Question 77. There are hermits who practice in solitude, and ascetics who subject themselves to a life of deprivation, austerity. What value does this have for enlightenment?
Human life typically requires the support of companions to ease the burdens of life, and a certain level of material comfort to reduce hardships. Therefore, solitude and material deprivation are generally seen as forms of suffering for people. Some ascetics, after attaining certain spiritual abilities, demonstrate a greater capacity to endure hardships than ordinary people. They may challenge themselves by living in solitude and deprivation, austerity. However, solitude and deprivation are not the goals of spiritual practice. Because if spiritual practice led only to loneliness and deprivation, no one would want to pursue it. We may admire someone who can endure solitude and deprivation, but most of us would not choose to practice in such a way. Moreover, society does not encourage everyone to live in that way, because if everyone lived in deprivation, no one connected or cooperated with others, this would result in an impoverished society. We should see living in solitude and deprivation as a temporary challenge to strengthen spiritual power at certain times, rather than as the ultimate aim of spiritual practice. The true purpose of spiritual practice is to attain enlightenment and to guide others, helping them to achieve enlightenment as well.
Question 78. What is Buddhism's perspective on the current unemployment issue in the world?
In the past, unemployment was less of an issue because the natural environment, rivers, forests, and fields belonged to everyone. Anyone who puts in effort could find a means of living through natural resources. Today, however, society has become more organized. With strict regulations and systems, people must seek employment within a company or organization. It means they have to work for someone else. Small businesses, unable to compete with larger companies, are gradually being absorbed by larger ones. Over time, most people have become employees of some company, government institution, or large-scale agricultural operation, with very few individuals still running small-scale businesses. When people can't find these opportunities, they face unemployment. They can no longer return to rural areas to fish, plant vegetables, or sell goods on the street. Without a job, they often end up without a home, without a family, and without a future. Jobless, homeless, and futureless frequently go hand in hand. In times of unemployment, people desperately wish for someone to hire them to do anything, just so they can earn enough money to buy food, which makes them feel incredibly humbled. When we look at the homeless living on the streets and dying alone across the world, we can better understand their tragic situation. One of the reasons that makes people struggle to find jobs is that as children, they avoided helping their parents with household chores, thinking such tasks were beneath them. The aversion to household work makes it difficult to find work later in life. Another reason is being too picky, looking only for jobs that match one's personal interests, rather than trying to love and commit to the job they currently have, as long as it contributes positively to society. Another cause could be never having helped others find employment. When seeing someone unemployed, they may feel indifferent and do nothing to assist. Lastly, when people are employed, they often focus solely on earning a salary without considering that their productivity should exceed their pay to create a lasting relationship with their employer. When wages exceed productivity, the connection with the employer weakens, and one day, the employer may no longer need them. So we must work with high productivity to maintain a strong bond with our employer, making them.
Question 79. What karma leads to homelessness?
Homelessness is a pressing issue in many developed countries. Despite their strength and prosperity, these nations still struggle with a large number of homeless people, which is a distressing sight. The economic reason for homelessness is often due to the loss of a job, which makes it impossible for individuals to afford rent or mortgage payments, forcing them to live on the streets. However, the karmic reasons behind homelessness are more complex. Instead of focusing on the specific karma that leads to homelessness, let's consider the karma that results in having a large and comfortable home, and then infer the opposite causes to understand what might lead to homelessness. Having helped others build a home, contributing to the construction of public facilities such as schools, hospitals, religious institutions, or government offices, not having burned down homes or destroyed villages during battles in past lives, not being arrogant or prideful when living in a large, beautiful home, offering shelter to those in need during difficult times, not destroying animal nests, hives, or burrows, supporting local funds to build homes for the poor, being lenient and understanding when tenants cannot pay rent on time, using one's home for wholesome activities that benefit the community. These are examples of causes that help people avoid housing issues. By understanding these, we can deduce the opposite causes that might lead someone to suffer from homelessness. To reverse the karma of homelessness, one should seek opportunities to help others secure housing. By helping others have a place to live first, we will gradually overcome the karma of homelessness.
Question 80. Many think that to attain inner peace, one must not be concerned with anything. Does this lead to irresponsibility?
This is a crucial point in the practice of meditation and the path to liberation. When the mind becomes tranquil, a subtle wrong view can arise, that one no longer needs to be concerned with anything in the world. This is why many practitioners gradually lose their merit without realizing it. Practitioners often go through a phase of meditative absorption, where the mind becomes focused and passive. This is a stage that everyone must experience. However, many people get stuck in this passive state and become disconnected from society, no longer offering benefits to the world. For this reason, when practitioners embark on the spiritual practice towards enlightenment and liberation, they must make great vows to help others, cultivate compassion, pledge to accumulate countless good deeds, and maintain deep reverence for the enlightened ones. This strong foundation ensures that later, when practitioners pass through the stage of passive tranquility in meditation, they will rise from this emptiness and return to the world to uphold the Dharma and bring happiness to all beings. Unfortunately, some practitioners, when reaching this passive state, adopt the wrong view that nothing matters anymore. They mistakenly believe this to be a profound truth and then write books promoting the idea that there is no need to do anything, causing many other people to misunderstand and gradually lose their merit as well.